Hello, Next Geners. Welcome to a big Friday form preview show ahead of the Manikato Cox Plate doubleheader at Moonee Valley. It starts tonight. I'm joined by Hayden Byrne from Daily Sectionals. G'day, Hayden.
Morning. Great day, isn't it?
It is a great day. I'm obviously Damien Ractliffe from The Age. We're going to get stuck straight into it. We have a number of questions on the Facebook page we're going to get through. I might start with one of them, actually, from Tim Mitchell. What will the predicted rain do for the Cox Plate and obviously tonight's meeting? What are you forecasting?
Oh, in terms of forecasting the weather, I'm not very good at that. A little bit of rain on that track won't hurt it. Normally, when you get the Manikato Stakes night, you'll notice if you go back historically, the Manikato Stakes night, it's not the easiest in terms of irrigation when you have the night meeting leading into the day. So it can actually get pretty slippery and very sharp from in front. It can be a real leader highway. So a little bit of rain on it won't hurt it. It'll probably even things out a touch. Moving into the Cox Plate card could be a dangerous place from a leader's perspective. So a little bit won't hurt. If it gets excessive, they'll start to get into the track and they may push off the fence. So any excessive rain's obviously going to knock a few straight out of the Cox Plate.
I don't think it's going to be any worse than a soft 5 tonight. We know that generally this meeting is a good 3. Like, they don't like to put much water on it, especially when they've got a rain forecast for the Saturday. So I reckon we'll start a good 3 if the rain hasn't hit before the first, and it won't be any worse than a soft 5 tonight, I wouldn't have thought, even if they get sort of 8 to 10 mils. I can't see it being much worse than a soft 5, maybe a soft 6 if it really tears up during the meeting. But we saw the Moya Stakes meeting, the key lead up for the Manikato, won by Coolangatta. And we had our golf day that day, you'll remember, but it started a soft 6. They got rain during the meeting and it sort of got into that soft 7 range. We're going to be starting with a much firmer track tonight.
Yeah, the only thing I don't really like is when it rains, not only mid-meeting, but especially during the actual races themselves. I feel like they do a lot more damage when it rains during the actual races, and they seem to bust the track up and damage it a little bit. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen because we've got 2 good days ahead.
All right, well, Tristan Harrower has asked Bella Nipotina, thoughts, lads. Let's get stuck into the Manikato. Paul Alley, $3.90. Bella Nipotina, $4.60. Coolangatta, $5. Rothfire, $6.50. You get double figures the rest. How have you got stuck into this form?
Well, it's a good race. They're going to rock and roll as they normally do in a race like this, particularly Moonee Valley, because they come out of the chute and they, it's all guns blazing into that first corner. So really, really good race. The key chances have all drawn really well. And from a mapping perspective, they look like they're going to get very, very kind runs. So only excessive speed early, and if they back it off, would create a drag and allow the back markers to get themselves into a position to be able to strike this lot from the front. Paul Ailey was excellent Caulfield last start. You've seen that gap. He tried to savage through the gap. Really good thing for those who, don't pay a hell of a lot of attention to their form and their replays, etc. Go back and have a look at the replays. He gets flushed over the head twice with Oliver's stick from the inside, especially when he's going through the gap. He gets in the first time. The second one's pretty brutal, and you'll see him throw his head to the side. So for him to still put the head down and charge through the line, I thought was really impressive. And he looks like he's starting to trend back to that form he had from 12 months ago. I know he ran really well up in Brisbane, but from an IVR perspective, he was a touch down. Obviously got tracks where it was hard to run good time on. So, that can affect them. But he looks like he's starting to trend back to that early 3-year-old form, which would, really shake the life out of a race like this. He's really hard to fault. Bella Nipotina, she's a dangerous runner. She is dead set airborne. She continues to evolve as she gets older. She's very progressive. She's one of those mares that you just keep serving her up races of this nature and she keeps performing. So I expect her to trend to her IVR figures from 12 months ago, which, she's got a peak performance here of 3.1 lengths above. I think she's going to go into that range. I find it really difficult seeing her miss the top 3 from a betting perspective. I thought they were the main two. Coolangatta gets the dream. Obviously, intent from the outside of her, whether something wants to come across. But her natural speed, if she lands in front under natural speed, she'll take a ton of running down. So
I reckon
the three.
I reckon the astrologist will come from barrier 6.
Yeah, he's got the
and sit right on the outside, and the other one might be Best of Bordeaux coming from barrier 11.
Yeah, there's a line of 4. So Best of Bordeaux, Streets of Avalon, the astrologist, Rossfire have all got the speed to be there if they want. It just depends how fast Jamie wants to roll. If this little filly rolls, she definitely has the speed to hold them if she wants to. So from that inside draw, what's worst case scenario? You think she'd be one pair back. So, she's going to get a dream run. All 3 are going to get their chance. You look from those, Rothfire, he got a chance. The 2 knockout players would be horses like Rockin' Horse and 11-11.
So which way have you settled?
I find them very, very hard to split. I think Paul Laley just from Valenipatina, but will not surprise me if she beats it.
Yeah, I thought the 2 were clearly Paul Alley and Valenipatina, and I think Valenipatina might actually get a couple more favours in the run. I think she can, from barrier 2, literally just sit on Coolangatta the whole way, the 2 stablemates, and Willow can be patient while everything's trying to keep up with that mid-race squeeze. He can be patient on the fence, hopefully peel off in the straight and chase him down with a cozy run. That might turn into bad luck. I was watching a replay of Lankan Rupee's big win in this race where they were 7 or 8 across the track, and Willow was actually 3 back the fence on Rebel Dane, just cuddling Rebel Dane, waiting for a gap. And as the gap opened, he just came off the heels of a Lankan Rupee and just missed. And we saw Valenipatina try and do similar behind Jonker last year, just sit on the fence behind Jonker, wait for the gap to open, then take it, rather than get into this big squeeze where they're running around the outside. So I see Valenipatina getting the cozy run. Paul Alley's going to have a bit more work to do, a bit more traffic. As you said, the way he poked through last start at Caulfield was very impressive. From an odds perspective, it was at one stage $3.50 Paul Alley and $5.50 Valenipatina. I was happy to play Valenipatina at the better price because I don't think there's a lot between them. And I thought Rockin' Horse is going to have a bit to do from the barrier, and the astrologist, they both come from that race behind Private Eye, which was franked. It wouldn't surprise me to see the astrologist hold on for a top 3 place. He can endure that high pressure through 2 sections. And the way he's been racing at Flemington, he's been putting it on that first section and then coming off in the mid-race, and that's just really helped the horses behind him slingshot. So if they can keep the handlebars down for 2 sections and really gas out the ones behind, he can hold on for a top 3 or top 4 finish as well, I think. So I'm Valenipatina just from Paul Alley, and then the 2 there, the astrologist and Rocking Horse. I'll just have a look at the Facebook page. It looks like most of the other questions are related to the Cox Plate. But Simon Izzard says, what's your thoughts on having Friday night into Saturday, i.e. Cox Plate Premier Weight for Age race is effectively the 17th race on an 18-race card, and track will be very worn?
Well, see, year on year we have exactly the same thing, and I can't recall a bad Cox Plate, so I don't have an issue with it at all. I don't overly read into that sort of thing. We're trying to avoid thought processes that you don't have any control over.
Yeah.
And you can't, if you're trying to premeditate something that's not going to happen, if you see something evolving, race day conditions, they might start to swing off. I think the last one where the track sort of blew out a little bit and they swung off was Sir Dragonet.
Yeah.
To a touch, they started to peel wider on last year was State of Rest and Animo, but the 2 Quinella horses just basically stormed through the middle of the pack and won in the natural lanes anyway. So I wouldn't be overly concerned.
I reckon we were pretty strong on State of Rest and Animo as the 2 to beat last year anyway. So they were probably the best horses. You're right. I think Sir Dragonet was a little bit of a surprise, him winning that race. Let's look at the Cox Plate now. Animo, $2.40 favourite, drifted from the $2.10 opening price. Zaki, $4.50 into 4, back out to $4.20. Rock solid there. Albotagon, 9 into 7. The international, we've got questions about the international. You've got an IVR figure on him. I'm Thunderstruck, 11, slightly easy out to 12. Gold Trip, open 26, got a place in the race into $14. Mr. Brightside, 16. Alligator Blood, 18. Still has to pass a vet inspection at this time of recording. It's nearly 10:30 on Friday morning. Law of Indices, 34. Young Werther, 41. Maximal, 41. And Profondo, 71.
The golden question
through your thought processes.
The golden question right now, as we sit, is will the Alligator run? Because he changes the dynamics of the entire race if he's in or if he's out. What's your humble thought? Will he run?
Well, it's one of these situations where the stable are confident there's nothing wrong with the horse, and the vets say, well, he looks like he's lame and he's, I can't really call it. You'd hope that he can get through that, but lameness is something that is not easily. You're not easily talking the vets out of letting you run your horse. So you're right. It does throw a huge dynamic in the race with him coming from 12 and putting the pressure on Zaki, or does Zaki get it easy with no Alligator Blood in the race?
That's the big question, because that's going to change the dynamic drastically. He's the key runner from a speed perspective. So, it's a little bit of sit on your hands and wait and see. I don't think Alan would have much to say if the horse was scratched from the race, would he?
He would. Let's do the preview as though Alligator Blood will get past fit to run. So that's going to create a fair bit of pressure into that first turn.
Yes, that'll create some pressure for the first turn. He's got no option from that outside draw in his natural race pattern, which will be to roll. And, T. Clark aboard, you would think he would just own the front. Zaki would want to sit on his tail. Be interesting runners from a speed perspective. The horses who are going to create a little bit of a jam would be horse like Profondo. I'd expect him to try his hand and roll forward. If Alligator Blood scratched, I wouldn't be surprised if he led. That might throw a new dynamic into it. I'm not sure Jamie's going to want to lead under any circumstances. I think her best opportunity to win the race would be to lead if Alligator wasn't there. But whether she opts for that or not is another thing. Rain's also going to be a key factor, because if that track gets S6 or worse, you basically can put 3 or 4 completely in the rubbish bin. Another interesting runner from a mapping perspective would be a horse like Mr. Brightside. Craig, I don't think Craig's got any option here but to roll forward. So I think he'll be up there somewhere. Law of Indices have stated that he's got settling problems. So, Alan might just bury him fence. If he buries him fence, Animo gets the gold. So very difficult to see Animo not getting a golden run here.
We also saw I'm Thunderstruck settle in front of Animo in the Caulfield Stakes, and they basically said, we want to be the one in front, and Animo is going to have to chase us down. Will it be? And they haven't. It sounds like they haven't decided the tactics yet. But does it make more sense that perhaps Thunderstruck is sitting behind Animo, and when the pressure goes on, he's able to just follow Animo and try and make it a 2-horse war, a bit like Animo following State of Rest last year.
No, I couldn't envision him sitting in front of Animo here.
Yeah,
I don't think it's possible. And I don't think James is going to put himself into a position to allow that.
Mm-hmm.
James is going to own this race. Make no question about it. He knows he's on the best horse, and he knows he's on a real rock star. He's not going to put himself in a compromised position. The worst thing that he could possibly do is aim for the rail. He'll want to sit one off the fence and give himself all the time in the world. So, we're not talking about, someone from the bush who's been granted a ride. I think I sent you a message during the week that I just got the vibe we're seeing the best of all time. Ollie's always been my favourite. This one might be, we might be looking at the greatest rider we'll ever see. So He ain't making the mistake, mate. Not possible.
All right,
Very
tell us about
difficult.
El Bodegon.
Lovely little 2,000, 2,400 meter OS horse. He's in the race up to his ears. He's a genuine first four player.
Lockie Chapman says, is El Bodegon worth the punt at 8 on the basis that the European form is far superior to our horses?
I don't know what planet he's living on if he thinks that the European form is far superior to ours. I love Locke, but that's an incorrect statement.
Well, they probably are over the 3,200 meters, aren't they? But probably not at this 2,000 meter.
Oh, they're the superior stayer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, we really don't have that staying bunch, but when it comes to, you know, 1,200 to 2,000 meters, they're a little bit in the overrated scale. It all looks nice and fancy, but it's not as fancy as it looks. It's a little bit like, you know, Hong Kong. Just because they look nice, they're not necessarily the A division. So,
you know, we've seen Adelaide win the Cox Plate. We saw State of Rest last year. Liz Gracheux was one of the best bets we've ever had. How far off El Bodegon is he from those horses?
Oh, he wouldn't blow smoke up them.
Is he? But he may be a Sir Dragonet type who can get away if things go his way. And as they did for Sir Dragonet, is he probably the best comparison?
Yeah, he's about that level.
Yeah. Okay, I think that sums it up. And so that does that make the form pretty easy for you? Animo clearly the one to beat.
Oh, I've got a big expectation. Honestly, I've got a big expectation that he just wins. Yeah. That's the way I sit right now. I really can't find many dynamics to beat him. The only thing that sort of resonates for me saying, okay, I'll mark him odds on already, but the only thing that stops me from marking him hard odds on would be he hasn't had exposure to excessive speed this campaign. And the only thing that might do him would be, you know, having to go 10 to 12 lengths faster earlier. Apart from that, game on and game over. From the others, the horses that I thought could run big races, I think Gold Trip's a smoking gun. For some reason, everybody in the world wants to pot him. I think this is a smart move coming here. Shades on, flying Jamie Spencer out from overseas. They're not a silly camp, this. And if they got the feeling, you know, they do a lot of data and metrics on these runners, and they've done some weird and wonderful things in the past, and some of their theories really do work. I've seen some odd things like Hototsu going from a mile to 2,500 meters, and, you know, they tick all the boxes, bang, and they win. This horse just might thrive on extra work and extra pressure. You know, if Zara stays out in the wider lanes last start at Caulfield and he wins the Caulfield Cup, I think he'd be half the price. They're beaten ahead, beaten on lane dynamics. So for me, he's a runner that can definitely be considered for trifectas, exactas, first fours, etc. El Bodegon, I do have him in my top couple of numbers. Thunderstruck's a dangerous runner. Going to have to get the tactics right. He's got some vulnerabilities at 2,000. There's a lot of horses here that have got vulnerabilities at 2,000 meters. And it won't come out in a race like the Might and Power, because the Might and Power is a race that really determined on he with the best mile profile was in the race. So that's where you've seen horses like I'm Thunderstruck, Mr. Brightside ran better. You know, it was that flash photo finish and the big boy couldn't really bury them. Even Alligator Blood was still there. Moanga was very sharp through the line. So those with the mile profiles come to the fore. This is very, very different. This is a very different speed dynamic, and this is a true 2,000 meter race. You need 2,000 meter form. Even 2,400 meter form for a Cox Plate isn't the worst thing in the world.
Yep.
Because you've got a high element of sustained speed. So this is completely different. As I've said to you multiple times, you can't take races on one individual race as a form leader. You got to look at over a number of different aspects. And if they get that little short, you know, we touched on it with Smoke and Roman in the Caulfield Cup. when we did the race on the Turnbull, you know, you got the dream run, and if you base all your theories around one race, you'll lose all your money. But if you go and take the historics, there was just no way in the world the horse could win.
Yep.
So I'm looking at the historics. Anamo's going through the roof. He'll be the Cox Plate winner in my humble. Gold Trip, Albogadon, I'm Thunderstruck, Young Werther is the dangerous little commodity that could sneak into your first fours and get you a big result.
Yeah, I'm Animo on top with Albogadon there. I think I'm Thunderstruck is the one that can really run a place. I think you're getting $3.50, $3.20 the place. If you're on at 20 to 1 on Animo with one of the bookies that are allowed a $10 bet, then perhaps if you wanted to play something at $13, you could have a couple of dollars on I'm Thunderstruck. He's yeah, we love Junior and the Mick Price team. Good luck to them, and we love this horse. He's given us plenty of joy, so I'd love to see him win. I think he might do what Animo did last year and just sit on the back like Animo did State of Rest and try and come late. I think Animo might just be too strong late, but it wouldn't surprise me to see I'm Thunderstruck closing and finishing half a length off in second. But Albogadon, I'm Thunderstruck, and Gold Trip, they're my top four. Let's look at the undercard now. We're going to have to race through these a bit quicker. The first race, Hayden, is a race of unseen horses.
Yeah, that's where you have your lunch, mate.
All right, race 2. The Bendigo Bank Handicap. Malkovich is a scratching. The odds in order: Scissor Step 5, Estella Rocca 550, Streetcar Stranger 550, Sartorial Splendor 550, Yulon Command 6, Ashford Street 7.
Yeah, very tight. The market's right with this one in terms of you can have $5 the field, and it's a tad confusing, especially with the removal of Malkovich, who was, you know, he was your natural speed runner.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one who looked like he could make them stretch. You're on command. He needs to adopt that tactic once again. Sartorial Splendor is a little bit of an anomaly because Sartorial Splendor, even though leads and looks like it goes relatively quickly, it doesn't. And excessive pressure through the first section busted up all the time. Estella Rocca, J-Mac, Dream Run gets its opportunity. 1,000-meter profile, sensational. Should run first 3. If the race was over a touch further, I think Scissor Step would be a lock. But back to the 1,000, little question mark. Moonee Valley, when you're doing your Moonee Valley form, 955 and 1,000, if you can see some excessive speed through the first section, you can be relatively sure they're going to back it off as they come to the first little dog leg. When they back it off, they compress and you can swoop and win. Where 1,000-meter races normally difficult to swoop and win, Moonee Valley actually suits those from that inside run line, and you can get through them late. So just pay attention when you're doing your form. If you can see something excessive, you're going to get the opportunity to win from the back. So I'm Estella Rocca just from Scissor Step. I'm
also number 3, Estella Rocca. Race 3, the Red Anchor. Sweet Ride, 380. Shillelagh, 390. Sajardin, 650. Great Barrier Reef, 7.
Yeah, complicated little race and a pretty even bunch. Shillelagh was pretty good, Caulfield, in its last start behind the Price Kent runner, who was quite sharp, and he's not out of the mix in a race like a Coolmore moving forward. The thing with him too, if you get a little bit of rain in the lead up, you know that he'll handle that S5, S6. Nash goes on, Dream Run. Looks like he can press that benchmark level or eclipse it, which would be good enough to put your ride in the money here. Sweet Ride, another one, ditto. A little bit sticky from the gate. Chad's going to have to be smart. That's just why I went with the other one just in front of it. But other than those two, very even bunch.
Yeah, I settled with Sweet Ride. This was a horse that was nominated in one of the emergencies for the Manikato. Didn't get a start, but thought it was trending in the right direction. Race 4, a horse we know well, beat our horse Screaming Diva, who actually runs today at Cranbourne if you're looking to have a little bet. Race 5, I think it's race 5, number 1 at Cranbourne, Screaming Diva. She's $8 and can win at Cranbourne on pace there. But Grease beat her last start at Geelong. Does Grease win again here?
Goes forward. only excessive speed would undo it. Even though it looked fantastic at Geelong, it didn't really break the clock. It was a very smooth ride, no pressure. 5 lengths below benchmark first section. She just rolled to a benchmark speed through the mid. Little acceleration between the 4 and the 2, pretty much put pay to an average bunch, and she ran off. So, she's got the right profile to step up to a race like this, and the rest of them aren't much good. The little danger runner in it would be Willinga Beast.
Mm-hmm.
They opted to go back last start. I think they made a tactical error. Horse can get pretty hot, but so be it. He's the right horse for a race like this. Malum is airborne. He's one rider that you can really, if you didn't rate him prior, you can really ramp him up in terms of your assessment when looking at riders, and how much I put on riders, how vital they are. They're the big key to the puzzle. So Malum goes into the A set. Willinga Beast, very, very dangerous runner and can beat Greece.
It's 340 Greece, 380 Willinga Beast. Is this a race you're betting or staying out of?
Contemplate backing Willinga.
Okay. I'll be on Greece. The Phillies Classic, Do It La is 350. Hell Hath No Fury 420. Climbing Star 6. Starian 8 on her 850.
I'm waiting for this crop of fillies to start to do something. Their overall profiles are pretty poor. But as we know with the fillies, they continue to evolve where the colts hit the ground running. Post their big numbers, sustain them for a number of years, where the fillies continue to evolve as they get older. So there are some progressive ones. Do It La, Hell Hath No Fury are the most likely of the progressives. They look like they can not only run to their previous, but eclipse them. And in doing so, would put a little bit of a gap to the others. So again, I'm not talking about any runners with fancy sort of odds here. But even saying that, you're still getting $3 and $4 for most of these horses. So they are betting options. Do It La looks like it's going to get things very smoothly. Will thrive at a mile, liked its last start, overcame some adversity through the mid. Going to be a difficult horse to catch around here. Hell Hath No Fury gets the dream run. J-Mac will get the distance. Hard to split, to probably go Hell Hath No Fury just from Do It La.
Yeah, I'd Do It La on top. I think these first 4 or 5 races are not ones that you want to be losing all your money on. I think we're going to get much better value and stronger form to dissect over the last 5 races. Race 6, this is a tough race. A lot of these out of the Toorak, and Tuvalu's been scratched. So I'm not sure if you knew that, but I'm just getting up the tab market now, and Tuvalu's been scratched. I had a real pen through Tuvalu. I thought it was a big risk of flatness off that massive run last start on the 14-day backup. A few of these ran behind it. Gentleman Roy, $4. My Oberon, $4.60. I think this is an Australian debut for My Oberon. Annabelle Neesham was nominated for the Cox Plate. To be interested to see if you've got any data on My Oberon. Visionary, 5. Military Expert, 5. Call Sign Mav was a forgive last start. He's at 7. Banker's Choice, $8.50.
Yeah, he's a nice little horse, My Oberon. We're out at breakfast with the best on Tuesday morning. Michael Kent Jr. and I'm Thunderstruck weren't there, nor was Animo. So it felt like a bit of breakfast with the rest from where I was sitting. But this was one runner that I was quite intrigued to see. I like to look at these horses that you've never laid eyes on and we've never seen out in Australia. Al Bogadon was one of them. This guy was the other, and see whether they had the confirmation that they look like runners where they could really scoot around the valley and they would handle it. And he looked quite healthy to me. He looked quite fresh. He looked like he was really enjoying life, and he also looked like he'd cope with the travel well. He's one of those runners that been from the UK, travelled to Maidan. Him on a plane doesn't seem to upset him So when you get that, they can be very dangerous runners first up. And to me, he ticks that box. He's the horse to beat for mine. Buffalo River, he just seems to get slaughtered every start now. Damien Oliver back on. That'll be good for him. Him and Gentleman Roy will go forward, own the front. Call sign Mavs can get run of the race behind those two. My Oberon will be stalking. I think my Oberon will beat them. Visionari's the big leaper. And Gentleman Roy will be thereabouts. But Tuvalu, it was the one who was going to get the dream and pretty much just chase and beat what it had to last time. So with it out, you can definitely elevate my Oberon. My Oberon's got the real feeling of a $5 into $2.90 on the day and smashes everyone, and all the punters clap hands and everyone has a great day.
So you've done the IVR analysis on him?
I do everything.
So that's a pretty confident push there.
Oh, no, I just like him. I think he's the right horse for a race like this.
All right. I was willing to risk Tuvalu anyway. I thought the lead-up run to what he did last start, the early pace was a big increase. There was a big risk of flatness, whereas Gentleman Roy, I think, was above benchmark through the first section 2 starts back, and then was 5 lengths above last start. Would have been easier to cope with that. I had Gentleman Roy on top, but I was keen to get your insights into my Oberon, and you've given that a pretty big push. So
the thing with the race, though, is that if the rain doesn't really come and that track hasn't been heavily irrigated, and we feel like we're on a little bit of a jump, run, leader highway, you're going to have to elevate Gentleman Roy.
Yeah.
He's that style of runner. If you feel like this is just a monorail.
Although there is pace from everywhere, isn't there? Like Buffalo River doesn't go slow. Military Expert will be up there. Gentleman Roy's up there. Visionari usually leads, but I'm not sure he's going to have the pace to keep up with that lot. So, I had Gentleman Roy on top, but I like your push from my Oberon. I'll have something on him. We've only got 7 minutes left. The Vase, Berkeley Square, 240, Virtuous Cycle 5, Pericle 6, Vegeta San 11, Jenny Jerome 10, Berardino 14.
Yeah, if you watch the race at Geelong during the week when Gran Piero won, a lot of these horses have massive, massive distance queries, and they bring in mile profiles, and their mile profiles aren't saying, I'm going to get any further than this, let alone get the mile in itself. So they just basically fall in a hole, half these things. I'm going to steal a little bit of your thunder here and say that Berardino's, he fits the Gran Piero mold. He's got the late elevation over 1,800 metres. He's overcome some adversity in his races. He's got the big squeezes at 1,500. He's the right runner for a race like this. He can run first 3 at a double figure. Berkeley Square's the class runner. Typically, the class runner historically wins this. So he looks like he's still on the up, and he's always given a little bit of a vibe to be a better Derby horse, Berkeley Square, than he would have been Genny. So they're the two. No interest in the rest.
Yeah, Berardino's a massive bet here, I reckon. 14 and 340. When Nash goes onto a Busselton runner, that's always a big tick. I've actually jumped on Ladbrokes. You can multi Berardino 14 into his $17 to win the Derby. Now, you do get deductions because you're betting on the same horse, but it's nearly $130. So I'm happy to have 5 on that to win about 650 on Berardino winning this, and in a pretty weak crop can turn the tables on Mr. Maestro, I think up to 2,500. So that looks the right form for me, but Berardino looks like the value play on Saturday. 5 minutes left, a couple more races to get through. The Moonee Valley Gold Cup, Francesco Guardi 4%, 440, Desert Icon 650, Luna Flare 750. I'm a bit shocked about that. I thought the win last start was outstanding. Grand Promenade 8, but they're coming for Francesco Guardi to turn the tables on Luna Flare.
Right horse, right trainer, right rider. Just tick, 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 tick. Airborne Francesco.
You're back in Francesco?
Yep. Loved his performance last up. Flemington, when it comes to analytics, he is just like, he's just there. He's ready to win. Can't see him missing the first 3.
Okay, I want to see him turn the tables on Luna Flare. I'll be on Luna Flare in the Moonee Valley Gold Cup with talked about race 9, which was the Cox Plate, the last race on Cox Plate
One
Day.
quick one.
Yeah.
One quick one on that race. I am Francesco Guardi Luna Flare. Sacramento's the dangerous runner.
Okay.
Just
Tessio.
put him in all your quaddies.
All right. Sacramento is $11, so put him in the quaddie. Tessio Stakes last race. Roots is 310. Cirilao Miss 460. Agreeable 460. My Whisper 650.
Agreeable last start, Murray Bridge, won the Murray Bridge Cup, and they've thrown him straight in the car and driven over here. He's in excellent order. Camp are pretty smart when they do things like this. Not a very difficult race for him to win again. My Whisper has electric straight line speed. Going to get a optimum race shape to produce that. T. Clark, not a bad runner for it. Roots might be the horse that every punter's trying to kick home at the end of the day if they've got no money left. It's somewhere. It's a touch overrated, but I don't think we've seen the best of it yet. And DeKirk could be the knockout quaddie player.
Yeah, I was tossing up between Roots and Agreeable. I settled with Roots, but I can see why you've given a good push to Agreeable, so you might have twisted my arm there. 3 minutes left. Was there anything on the undercard tonight at Manikato Stakes? Our boy runs in the last Claymore for Gemma Riley and the team. Going to start, well, currently a short favourite. He's probably going to be the map horse. He goes forward. If the rain comes, he's going to enjoy that. McDougall's a positive sign, 7-day backup, up to the Cox Plate distance. A lot of ticks there.
There is a lot of ticks there. It's a very, very ordinary race with some horses severely out of form. This race wouldn't be out of sorts as a benchmark 64 on a Friday afternoon. So, let alone a Friday night Manikato. So he's going to get a better chance than what you would expect in a race of this nature. When you hear benchmark 70, when you're stepping up from Moe and you hear benchmark 70 Moonee Valley Manikato night, you expect to be 50-1. But to come up favourite pretty much sums the race up.
All right. And I've got one at value. I have seen the RSPs, and you didn't mention this horse in your RSPs tonight. It is race 2, number 5, Imperial Lad. Won this race last year. Damien Lane, positive booking, will go forward and take catching in my humble. Ran a nice figure this race last year. A repeat of that. It looks like a bit of a setup here with Imperial Lad, $7.50. Pretty open race with Sosie Bond, regards Marie, Grand Slam, eluding winning partner. But I thought Imperial Lad could just do what it did in this race last year. So there's a bit of value tonight. It could be a favourite tonight, though. I think race 1, number 1, Silent Sovereign. Race 5, number 3, Taunting. Race 6, number 6, Night Passage were a couple of standouts there for me.
I think you've got that relatively summed up. I like in that Night's Passage race. This is what we can do. I'll take on Night's Passage.
Yeah.
Because we need to have lunch with golf.
Yeah.
You want to go head-to-head, Shibley, Night's Passage.
You want to go head-to-head with Paul Alley again? I'll go Bella Nipotina.
I was going to give you the advantage this time in terms of...
or Luna Flare and Francesco Guardi. You're the gun, mate. I'm just a journalist. I'm the host. You're the form expert. Enjoy your Cox Plate weekend. We're in the last 30 seconds, but I'll see you tonight. Good luck Screaming Diva at Cranbourne. Good luck Claymore tonight in the last at Moonee Valley. Excited about a big weekend. Go Animo.
Go Animo.
Catch you, mate.
See you, buddy.